How's it going, guys? I'm recording this video as kind of a backup for if this weekend I've been waiting to do sort of a bigger video. I've been waiting for a green screen to show up. Should be shipping. I'm not sure when it's supposed to arrive, but I might need extra time this weekend to work on that, so I'm kind of pre-recording this just in case I can't edit any of the other shit that we kind of have stocked up. If things are looking a little jiggly, I'm experimenting with a new camera setup, you know, as I tend to do with these Vic vlogs. I tend to mess around with new tools and things. I'll show you in a bit. But you know, just seeing how this works out. Anywho, I had some things that kind of wanted to talk about. So we recorded last night a follow-up of us watching episode 2 of Tower of God, because we had an interesting sort of path. We put up our comment video, and comments were still rolling in on the first video, and like, initially I was feeling like, you know, like everything I explained in the comment video, like, oh, maybe we should give this a second chance. And then me and Hope start to look into the manhwa, because supposedly, you know, it's this One Piece-esque masterpiece that people are vouching for and saying we didn't give it enough of a fair shot. And, you know, I saw people kind of arguing like, oh, episode 1, it was kind of a bad adaptation of the manhwa, the source material is better and stuff. So we check it out. First we look at like the latest chapters to see how the art style gets better. And then we checked out chapter 1, 2, 3, kind of like was at first reading it, and then so it turns out that it is 1-for-1. This adaptation is 1-for-1 adaptation of the source material to an extent that's almost astonishing. Like, it's literally just a storyboard for the anime when you look at it. Like, they did a phenomenal job of actually making it look, first artistically, the anime looks way better than the manhwa. That thing looks like hot diggity dog shit. Oh my god. And it's like, people will say like the art style gets better or whatever, but like clicking through randomly throughout, I know that's not a good way to get a real judge of the art style, but it looked thoroughly horrendous through everything we looked through, which was pretty funny. Not saying that it doesn't get better. Lala is attacking me. Lala likes to attack me when I'm walking around with the phone for some reason. She hates my cell phone. Anytime I'm on the phone, she attacks my legs. So now I gotta stop walking around so Lala won't fucking assault me. Anyways, yeah, so the art of the manhwa, in my opinion, is absolutely horrendous. It is just aesthetically disgusting to me. But, alas, I was like, so I got to a point where I was thinking, either this is great like people say it is, you know, like these commenters are saying it is, or it could be so awesomely bad, like Sword Art Online, you know, that this could be our SAO. And that would be a lot of fun. Like, I would love that. So we go into episode 2. You know, I'm not going in just trying to hate it. Like, if it is legitimately good, that's fine. And I mean, episode 2 was like, we recorded us watching it, and then the whole time I'm just like, well, this is fine. Like, if episode 2 were episode 1, we would have had nothing negative to say about it at all. It's just some shonen. It's like, it's nothing new, but it's not cringy or especially bad. I kind of understand the aesthetic a little more, because in the first episode, it just felt like you didn't really understand what the fuck aesthetically they were going for, because it felt like this kind of shafty feel to it. And it's like, now I see that it's not really meant to be like that at all. This is a very goofy, like aesthetically goofy series, it seems, with like wacky shit that happens. It just so happens that the first episode starts off feeling so self-serious that it kind of pushes you in the wrong direction. And I'm thinking about making like a video talking about the importance of first episodes and establishing like a tone for your series, because definitely like people refer this with general long form shonen manga, and it is kind of a problem that they have with being interesting in the first episode because they're meant to be these giant long series, and like I understand that, but this one we just didn't read that it was meant to be a long form shonen thing from the first episode. It felt more like Gantz or something, you know? Like I didn't know going into it this was gonna be a long form shonen, you know? If you don't have that prior knowledge, why would you assume from that first episode that this was gonna be a 700 episode long One Piece epic? But anyways, the art looks like shit, but episode 2, fine, you know, serviceable. We turn off the camera, we just don't have anything to say. Like, we recorded our reaction watching it, which was like, whatever. We didn't have anything, like, any funny input or anything, because nothing terrible was going on. And then we sat there and we're like, well, alright, we have nothing to say about episode 2. So maybe we'll keep watching it, maybe we'll wait for the dub. I don't know how many episodes they plan to put out now, but, like, it's definitely not going to be interesting on an episode-by-episode basis. Because episode 2 was fine. It was very, like, you know, like Genkai's tournament stuff in Yu Yu Hakusho, or the Hunter exam where they put everyone in a room and say, oh, only these certain people can get, you know, whoever's left in the room can move on to the next trial or whatever. Start now. Like, it's basically, like, it's really similar to Hunter x Hunter in that way. Like, the start, because he meets his Killua, you know? And then, like, they have the bunch of random people killing each other, and then they kind of go into the Nen trial kind of stuff. And it's like, okay, now I get it. Based on the first episode, I did not know at all that this was going in that shonen direction. So, in fairness, people are right about that. Do I still think the soundtrack is not my cup of tea? Yes. Do I still think it's gonna be kind of a generic shonen? Absolutely. Anyways, that's not why I started recording this vlog. I just wanted to give you that update so that you would know that we tried to do that and it failed. But, you know, maybe if the season ends and we have a lot to say about it, then we'll do another video. But I don't know that it's gonna be the next Sword Art Online or anything. Anywho, I think I wanted to talk about filmmaking or something. I think it's like I wanted to expand on my thoughts about why I don't do like film related shit on YouTube. I think the biggest reason for that is because, like, most of the people you see doing that are full of shit. They basically can't say anything negative about any of the products. Most of the shit is all exactly the fucking same, and it's really, you know, it comes down to who's using it. Like, no matter what. Anything can be good, anything can look like shit, depending on how you're using it and who is using it. So, none of it really matters. Second, like, I could like start reviewing all the shit in my house, or giving like basic tips, but like, I don't consider myself to be particularly good at this shit. Like, I think I'm mediocre and serviceable. I would not consider myself like an authority, especially on like advice on how to have a career. I'm not the best for that. I don't make shit for money. I've had a weird career path. Anything I've done, it's just luck. It's just lucking out at the right thing, or like meeting the right people. And I think that's all you can really say. Like, a lot of people giving advice in this field, it's like, once people are successful, they feel like they have this agency to tell other people how to do that, when at the end of the day, it was mostly luck and just going forward in one direction, you know? Like, there's no formula for getting successful, especially in arts, you know? It's either you do or you don't. My phone is getting low on battery. No, it's not. Just forget about my phone. Anyways, there's no clear path. There's no good advice. The best advice I've ever heard was, for one, whatever you're doing, it takes 5 years to become successful. That, I think, is pretty sound advice. Just bank on 5 years of being shit before you're going to get anything done. That's real solid advice. Second advice is, if you stick it in for 5 years, then the people around you who started around the same time as you are going to gradually flake off until you're the only one left who could work. That's some other good advice. Like, literally just being around for a long time and making yourself, like, making people aware of you and just steadily getting better is the best way for you to kind of get it out there that you're good at what you do. So you do that. You stick around, you stick it out, and you keep going. And eventually people go, oh, this guy's been doing this for a while. I guess he's serious. That's some decent advice. Anyways, I wanted to show off the new studio. So there's our key light and our camera setup. I've got the my Atomos Shogun going. This is what we record to. So this camera, this fancy big camera, is kind of a piece of shit, honestly. Unless I'm recording into this. I wouldn't say it's a piece of shit. Like, it's good. Obviously, it's good. Like, all the Radcon stuff we shot on this. But the Radcon stuff that we shoot on this, I am recording in 1080p off the camera. Which looks exponentially less as amazing as if I shoot raw out of this into the recorder that records at a bitrate that is about, like, you know, like 1,000%, like literally 1,000% better than if I just recorded into the camera itself. We're talking about going from 50 Mbps to 500 Mbps. Like, it's exponentially better if I record into that fucking thing. So, when you see the Vic and Hope videos, the newest anime shit with this setup, I am recording high-ass fucking quality because I'm basically just, like, it's, each one of those files is like 100, 200 gigs, and then I'm just deleting it after we're done editing, you know? Because I can't afford to fucking store all that shit, but I want to record in a nice, crisp, clean quality, because if I don't, it just doesn't look as amazing, you know? It's hard to do that, like, I can't do that for the Radcon lectures, because I literally can't, like, if I recorded Nate's fucking 5-hour-long One Piece lecture, that would end up being 150, or it would be 1,500 gigabytes of data. If I doubled that up to 2 cameras, it would be 3,000 gigs of data for one lecture. So you'd have to get a 4 terabyte hard drive to store that on. It would probably take hours and hours to even transfer the footage off the drives onto the other drive. So, like, just out of utility, we can't shoot at that, like, ridiculously high quality for Radcon. We've got to shoot in a basic 1080, which, I mean, like, now I don't do that very often. Back in the day, like, that was fine. It's just kind of my own personal standards change. Like, most people can't really perceive the difference in these things. But there's big differences when it comes to, like, if I shoot, like, high quality footage out of this camera into that recorder with huge files, and I edit it, and I do the color grading, it will look good. If I shoot high quality footage into that recorder, and someone else gets it, and they don't know what the fuck they're looking at, because out of the camera it looks like fucking dog shit. It's designed to do that. Like, higher end stuff is usually designed to look like shit out of the camera because it's operating under the assumption that you are going to edit it. So it's giving you a file that has the most amount of data possible, because the way that cameras record data is in an odd top-down method where, like, basically, if it, like, cameras record data going from white to black. White has the most data because that's you know, a culmination of every color. Black has the least amount of data because there's no color. So when you shoot with a lot of contrast, then I'm plugging this into a charger so it doesn't die. So when you shoot with a lot of contrast, like this situation right here, you see the window is blown out. That is gone. There's no saving that. I can go into color correcting and like, this color looks great. It's off my cell phone. It's totally serviceable and fine, you know? But if I wanted to change anything, I can't do that. Like if I wanted to take those windows and make them not blown out, I cannot do that because the contrast is set in and that information is gone. It's lost. Same thing if it's too dark and it's black. It's just gone. So when you shoot high quality footage, you're shooting in a log profile. So there's basically no perceivable contrast, but that window isn't blown out and the shadows you can still see in the shadows. So then when you put that contrast in, you can dial in the contrast to wherever you need it instead of having it, like you can make it a lot more subtle and you can control every bit of it. So I can increase the contrast in my face and still keep that window like, you know, visible. You see what I'm saying? Most of you probably already know this, I would hope, especially if you're into filmmaking, then you probably know that. But that's why we shoot that way in film. So all the Vic and Hope shit I'm shooting that way, and I'm dialing it in, which is why it kind of has its own look to it, which is not amazing. I'm using really cheap shit and simple stuff. Like the lights being used in the Vic and Hope videos total in cost to about $350 or something. The colored lights are both $100. The light behind the thing I think was like $200 or something. I don't know, $150. You could definitely get it cheaper now because I got that years ago. So it's not super complicated. I just know what I'm doing with this shit. Not to fucking toot my own horn and say it's fucking amazing or anything. It just looks like average YouTube shit, honestly. I'm just saying that's why, like, some of the Radcon stuff, like, I'm shooting, you know, actually for the latest Radcon, I have in that recorder, I have preset color profiles that I made, sort of. So like I shot with a flat color in the camera and then I recorded on that recorder in HD, which is still better than recording in the camera in HD. And then I had to bake in, quote unquote, the color profile. So it's like, it basically gives it more, like it's a more subtle contrast and better looking skin tones than if I had just shot out of what the camera has natively, you know? I don't know if that makes any fucking sense. I think they're all a little bright. I could have done better on that. I'm always very critical of these things. I don't know if anyone else cares. I don't know. No one ever says like, oh, that looks great afterwards, you know? So it's like, I don't know if those guys think it looks like shit or there's not much constructive criticism being given after the fact. They can tell me if it looks like shit. Cause I mean, I tend to, like, my mentality about it is that people on YouTube tend to gravitate more towards shit that's bright over stuff that's dark. And they usually like a little more contrast, especially when you're looking at your phone and you kind of need things to pop off. So like there's thought put into it. Personally, like what frustrates me is like the TV. Like I look at some of the videos on my phone and they look okay. I look at that I'm on this certain TV and the contrast is too high and things are kind of blowing out. So it's like it really depends on what you're looking at it on as well. Like obviously on the screen that I'm using to record it, everything looks fucking fantastic. Otherwise I wouldn't have recorded it. But things always tend to change after editing. You never really know because the camera is always showing you the best possible image without compression and data rates and shit like that. And I don't know if those guys are tweaking anything. Like I would probably just take the brightness down a tiny bit and it would be perfectly fine. I don't know. I don't know what how they perceive things. Let's see how my battery's doing. We got a couple percent back. Anyways, I wanted to show you another thing with this setup. So when you're shooting with colors, it can be really complicated because the colored lights are not very bright, partially because, so LEDs, if you look at them, the technology is limited in the fact that, like, when you do the different colors, the bulbs are not changing colors, if you can see that. So if I set this to, let's see, fuck, I can't, I'm trying to do the buttons with my hand. Okay, so that's daylight. You see the number of bulbs that are on. So each one of those bulbs that are on right now has a daylight setting and a tungsten setting, but they are not together. Now you can see when I turn it to blue that the bulbs between those bulbs are now on. The bulbs themselves are not changing. It's just that they have different colors in there that it's switching between. So when you set the light to one color, it is a much lesser output than if you had the light on full blast, where like the brightest that can get is at a 4300 Kelvin, because it has 3200 Kelvin bulbs and 5500 Kelvin bulbs. So if you have all of those bulbs on, you're getting the brightest possible output out of that light. If you just have it set to blue, then you're not getting the brightest possible output out of that light. You're getting like a dull, dim, bluish hue. So when you try to light your body without color, you know, like I can put red in the background and I can put blue on the wall like I've been doing. But if I put this light in front on full blast, it washes out those two colors. So what you have to do is, I've got first I have a diffusion gel on this LED panel, and then I have these are Cinefoil, a very expensive black aluminum foil that absorbs heat very well. And so I've fucking closed off this light to stop the light from hitting, like, the light only hits the couch, which we are on, and it doesn't hit the background. That's how you effectively separate the different colors in the background. And that's why I have the blue hitting the wall and the red hitting inside this room, because they are not touching each other and mixing, because if they mix, they're going to turn into a muddy, shitty mess. That's just logic on how to separate your lights and colors and make it so they aren't interfering with each other. Which I hope is simple and people understand that. I don't know is this interesting? See, this is what happens when I talk about film stuff. I'm just talking, but like this is, you know, pretty basic shit. If you know what you're doing. That's the thing with certain like educational type videos like that, where I guess it's like, yeah, if we were starting at zero, you know, if we were talking about like absolute basics of filmmaking, I could probably be a good source. If you want to talk about like pro level cinema shit, it's just so monumentally in another ballpark that's why I don't consider myself good at this shit, because like, to me, what I'm doing here is like a fucking joke compared to what I've seen done, you know? When I've worked on actual film sets and stuff, and it's like everything you do at home starts to feel like, whatever. Underwhelming, goofy shit. This camera, whatever. You know, you touch the big shit, you're like, I was on this set a couple months ago now, and the lenses we were shooting on cost $50,000 a lens, and we had a set of 8. And I was the AC. I pull focus, I switch lenses, I do everything that involves the camera, beyond operate the camera, because you know, when you're on an actual set, you have to have basically a team of 2 to 3 people manning the camera at all times, because everything is so fucking heavy and huge and impossible to deal with, and you have to do everything really fast. So that's one of my primary jobs that I like to do the most, besides directing and shooting and stuff. Like when I talk about I'm on professional sets, it's usually the bigger the set, the less responsibility you're given. But anyway, so yeah, so I'm used to fucking touching all this big, retarded, expensive shit. So I perceive my own stuff as being fucking hot diggity garbage. This has been quite the ramble. That was a little update. I guess I'll probably post this on Saturday or Sunday. Probably Sunday. I don't know. You'll see when it comes out. I've got some videos stored up that I might
delete. Like we kind of record these in batches, and not everything is great. But is what it is. Sometimes you don't know until you do it, and then it goes away. So whatever. Fun times. Oh, that's right. Before I end this, I got to show you what I've been recording on. The incredibly professional setup that I've constructed here. This is my phone taped to a Bulbasaur. The Bulbasaur that a fan won me at the RadCon meetup. Yeah, Bulbasaur. Bye.